Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And on this episode of Lest We Forget, we are talking about Greenland and our current president. Title is Our Current President, Greenland Framework Sounds a Lot Like an Already Existing 1951 Deal by Aaron Blake. When our current president left the meeting on Wednesday that with Greenland and Denmark and people associated with our allies, NATO, he said he had secured, quote, the framework of a future deal on Greenland. However, nearly everyone who was involved remained quiet. Asked to detail the terms, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte simply referred to our current president's social media post, which included almost nothing about this framework. When CNN's Caitlin Collins asked our president whether it met his demand to own Greenland, he paused and avoided the question and said instead, quote, it's a long-term deal. He termed it as infinite and then said, it's a deal that's forever. So what exactly was said? Not only did our current president avoid the question about his central demand, but he referred to an aspect of this framework that already existed in a security agreement that the U.S. had with Denmark, which incidentally controls Greenland. And did you know in 1943, the U.S. secretly approached Denmark to buy Greenland and they rejected us? And at first you don't try, keep on trying. Well, this deal was eventually formed in 1951, and it already allowed for an American military presence on Greenland in perpetuity. Yet, our current president keeps talking about it as if this is a major concession that Denmark and NATO approve of. And yet, NATO and Denmark refused to do business with us. And Greenland was put under the protection of their National Atlantic Treaty Organization. And our current president keeps on insisting there's no time limit. He said that on Fox Business Network Thursday morning. While we still have much to learn about the details, and yes, a lot of the details still need to be ironed out, there's no actual document that is written yet. And from what we've learned and heard, it sounds like a lot what the United States already has from 1951. And that, in turn, makes it look like a whole lot like our current president folded or toppled. That is a new current parlance. Capital T, capital A, capital C, capital O, small letter ED. This is what we think we know about the framework, which is still just a verbal understanding between our president and Rutte. One, it involves discussions about updating the 1951 deal. Two, our president claimed it would allow for total access for defense, including the placement of the Golden Dome defense system, similar to Israel's. 3. The updated deal could include specific provisions barring Beijing and Moscow from operating in Greenland, suggested a NATO spokesperson. 4. It also appears to involve an enhanced role for NATO in Greenland. 5. There are conflicting signals about whether the deal includes increased U.S. access to Greenland's minerals, which our president has also floated as our priority. And we wonder why. He did this with the Ukraine too, folks. Don't forget. These would be significant concessions, except that it looks plenty like the U.S. already has them in a large part, or could have them with significantly less coercion. When it comes to sovereignty over U.S. bases, the 1951 deal already allows the United States to, quote, exercise exclusive jurisdiction over its defense areas in Greenland. These were some updates to the deal in 2004. As long as it didn't violate Danish sovereignty, the U.S. was allowed to improve and develop the defense areas, install and maintain equipment, station personnel, provide security, have post offices and commissionary stores, and control the comings, goings, and operations of ships and aircrafts. This agreement also gave the U.S. free rein to travel between the defense areas, and it's even said the laws of Denmark couldn't be used to prevent key personnel and their families from entering or exiting the defense areas. It's possible the new agreement could include even more U.S. free rein, but that's already an extensive amount of free. As for the other pieces above, it's unclear what among them couldn't have been negotiated without our president's threats of military invasion or other forms of coercion, like his recent tariffs announcement, which inflamed Europe and plunged the markets before he withdrew that threat. In fact, Greenland, Denmark, and other relevant countries have signaled repeatedly that they were already open to negotiation over such issues. Greenland's Foreign Minister Vivian Motzfeldt said earlier this month that Greenland was committed to finding the, quote, right path, unquote, and to strengthening security cooperation. Nordic leaders, including Denmark's foreign minister, said way back on January 6th that the 1951 agreement, quote, offers opportunities for increased security cooperation. To this extent, our president wants to keep Russia and China out of Greenland, and there's no indication that anybody would have resisted that. And given Denmark's presence in NATO, there's plenty of reason to believe it would have been amenable. Negotiators have also reportedly broached the topic of mineral rights weeks ago, and it's not clear how big a concession that even is, given mining them could prove extremely difficult. And just last week, Republican Senator Mitch McConnell was apologetic on this point. Quote, I have yet to hear from this administration a single thing we need from Greenland that this sovereign people's not already willing to grant us, unquote. But our president rejected these entities, insisting that it was ownership or bust. Quote, anything less than that is unacceptable. In an interview 2 weeks ago, the New York Times pressed our president on the already existing 1951 agreement, and he doubled down on the need for ownership. Quote, because that's what I feel is psychologically needed for success. I wonder whose psychological, mental success. I think that ownership gives you a thing that you can't do, whether you're talking about a lease or a treaty. Ownership gives you things and elements that you can't get from just signing a document that you can have a base. Oh, really? They call that breaking a treaty. It's too soon to know for sure, but it seems like our president may not get the thing he swore that he needed, full control of Greenland. A document detailing the specific terms of a new deal is expected to be hammered out in the next meeting of the US-Denmark-Greenland Working Group as soon as next week, CNN has reported. But it's also worth reflecting on the costs to get us there. Brutal tactics were used and political and foreign capital expended to achieve what seems to be only modest changes that could have been won in other ways. Our president rocked the Western alliance in ways that could reverberate for years to come if allies decide they can no longer count on or trust the United States. Canada and European leaders said some remarkable things happened this week, starting to make the case for decoupling from the United States and almost treating it as a rogue actor that can't be trusted to act outside of its own self-interest. And let's not forget who came to the USA's rescue after 9/11. Judging by the modest details known so far about the Greenland framework, this new paragraph could be the most significant result out of this whole ugly episode. Thank you very much for joining us. Unless we forget the 1951 Accord that was done way before our current president became president of the United States. And I recommend strongly you go and take a look at our marketing blog at passionworldtalkradio.com/blog. Click on the audio to listen to the podcast, read the summary, and of course, click on the link to take you to the full article, read it, and tell us what you think. Opinions, always welcome. pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com. Thank you very much. And for the eastern part of the country, enjoy your frigid temperatures.